And we are live with another episode of BS Busters. I'm joined here by.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This is Joy Moonstar. And, oh boy, we got plenty to talk about, don't we?
Yeah, it's been an interesting week. I mean, just when you think, oh, there's no news, yeah, some shit came out. I'm not going to go too in depth on one of these news stories just because I don't like talking about depraved shit. I'm someone who doesn't like depravity, but we got to mention it because it is news. Um, and it's me, Mr. Red Fox, owner and proprietor of BS Busters, and let's get to it. Um, let's get down into the nitty gritty. So, here's a brief overview of what we'll be covering.
Of course, we'll always have our unpopular opinions. And,
yeah, but that's going to be at the latter portion of the podcast. In the beginning, we're going to talk about gaming faux pas, i.e., fuck ups. These can be social, technical, or monetary, etc. We'll also we won't be talking about just about these situations. We'll also talk about how to rectify or avoid them. We'll also cover gaming news, upcoming games, and other gaming type things. And of course, we will do the unpopular opinion segment, which will be the hallmark. So let's get into these news stories first. So the first little bit of news. This is just something that I thought was interesting. Another Shadow Warrior is coming out now. For those of you who don't know, Shadow Warrior was a old title made back in the day for PC that was made using the Build engine, the same engine that Duke Nukem was made out of, except while Duke Nukem was a parody of action stars, if you will, from back in the day. Shadow Warriors starred Lo Wang, who was a parody of Asian action stars back in the day. Now, the guy who voiced him was a white guy doing a stereotypical Asian voice, which was not cool. But if you like sophomore humor and lots of puns, then Shadow Warrior was a good game. And we will find out more about the new Shadow Warrior game this Saturday, the 11th, during the Devolver Digital Conference from like 3 p.m. Eastern Time to whatever, I don't know, like 5 o'clock, maybe 4:30. I don't think it's going to be that long of a conference. Apparently, Square Enix is re-releasing Live Alive.
how? That's kind of cool when you think about it.
And it's being localized, which is cool. So, I guess that's a good thing. For those of you who don't know, Live Alive was a scenario-based RPG game where you had like 7 different characters through different timelines and or settings, ranging from a character in the prehistoric timeline all the way up to a robot from the future, who basically had to like fight their scenario's version of evil. Defeating all those different scenarios opened up an 8th scenario where you played as
all the characters in one final battle.
No, actually, you didn't. Open up an 8th scenario where you played as a character who did a heel turn. I'm not going to tell you about why this happened or the impetus behind this, but it's really interesting. After you completed that scenario, then you had a scenario where you could choose one of the other 7 characters to go into a certain to that time period and fight the ultimate evil. So, or you could play as the 8th character and be the ultimate evil and defeat the other characters. It didn't really matter. Live Alive was a awesome game that had an interesting premise that never came to America. I don't know why, because it, like I said, each of the scenarios was based off of something that was pop culture-y. Like, there was a level that was basically a ripoff of Terminator. There was another level that was a ripoff of Enter the Ninja. There was another level that was a ripoff of Alien. There was another level that was a ripoff of
This went this went with a lot of tropes, including I think even Rocky.
Akira. Yeah, one that was like a parody of Rocky, aka Enter the Dragon. I mean, not Enter the Dragon. Tower of Death.
I thought you meant Rocky Balboa for that one.
No, it wasn't quite Rocky. It was more like one was where you played this wrestler who had to fight your way through all these wrestlers all the way to the top. Like it was insane.
Oh, okay, I see what you're getting at. Okay.
It was insane. It was insane. And it had a very interesting combat system where basically after every battle you replenish all your health, so you didn't have to like. And grinding didn't help you because the enemies had leveled up as well over time. So, like you could basically by the end of it, even if you grinded your skills up, that was no guarantee that you weren't going to have a tough fight later on. So, you know.
Yeah, I get you.
Apparently, Square Enix is gonna localize that game, so I guess that's a good thing. I guess. I mean, I don't know. Next, we have some Nintendo eShop news. So basically, Nintendo Switch's eShop, as we know, has become a wild wasteland, a wild west wasteland where they aren't really like during the Wii days, it was heavily curated. There was like barriers to entry, and then during the Wii U days, initially they kept that up, and then after a while they were like, "Fuck it, you can do whatever you want," and so shit started appearing on there. Well, this time, shit is still appearing on there because there's no curation or approval process. So basically, this game is called Final Sword. And it's a shovelware game, and they're selling it for $17.70, where gamers can experience breathtaking battles with real fantasy monsters, and it's a port of a mobile game. But here's the thing: the game uses a lot of sound samples from The Legend of Zelda. It also plays kind of like a really shitty version of Breath of the Wild. Like really shitty. Like if you took some people who had no money but access to a mobile game developer kit and some ripped tunes off of a Legend of Zelda game, and then described to them Breath of the Wild, but they were like, we ain't got the money for that, but we can do this. I think this is what they'd come up with. And Nintendo allowed this on their eShop. No one was like, what the hell? I'm like, maybe we shouldn't let this be on the eShop. Nah, man, go for it.
As much as I am respectful of Nintendo, as far as trying to say that they need a diversity of games, sometimes this comes back to bite me in the rear end, and this is why.
You're being too nice. This is some bullshit. Okay, this is some bullshit. Don't even like you're trying to couch this in kind terms. Look, they fucked up. It's just, why are we trying to beat around the bush? This is a fuck up. Okay, hey, I mean, it's not a monumental fuck up. No one's.
Hey, I was gonna say, if this was a monumental f up, there would be no excuse.
No one's.
So excuse me for trying to actually be nice about it.
Actually, this is worse because someone is using their IP. Here's the thing: someone used stolen assets from their own games on their own fucking eShop. That's worse. It's like, was anyone?
It's funny that an episode of Extra Credits came out that's talking about trademarks and other. and likeness issues. And this is where I think that I think that this is where gray area really
No,
makes
there.
me
Look, listen.
grind
Okay,
my gears. I mean,
you can use music that's
oh,
fair
shut up
use.
already! I'm
You,
trying to say this here, and if anything, I'm trying to say that this is where I say this is where some of this is a gray area that is hard to that I'm gonna have to say is hard for the people in Japan to say that that's copyright infringement. But if anything, I know it's around here. It's probably gonna might as well be in this case,
okay,
and that's gonna be a hard issue to deal with, no matter which nation you are when it comes to copyright troubles
okay,
or trademarks.
let me put it this way. You could argue that them making kind of a ultra shitty knockoff of Breath of the Wild in terms of gameplay is a great area. But they literally ripped entire Koji Kondo tunes from Ocarina of Time. I mean,
That's the reason why
that's not really a gray area. That's copyright
that's why
infringement. No matter where you go.
I know that's the thing. It's to
That's
me,
not
it feels like it, but the
that's
thing is,
not
I don't know how it is in Japan.
No, that's well. I think it's pretty much the same in Japan because here's the thing. Okay, I have gotten copyright strikes from Nintendo of Japan for a video I did back in the day using the sound of using the battle theme music of Samus versus Rundas in Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. So, you know, if they're on point with that shit on a YouTube video, and that's a Japanese, the guy who did that music is a Japanese composer. I'm pretty sure, you know, using that shit in a video game for, you know, Koji Kondo, who is also a Japanese composer, you know, kind of, you know, bullshit. So yeah, this is, and like I said, you know, this would be one thing if this was a game that was on, just on Steam, or you know, on PlayStation or some shit like that. This is on Nintendo's own eShop. Which is, I mean, that's the equivalent. That's the equivalent of me. Here's what that's like. That's like me opening up, having a day of business in my store, right? And not my store, in one of my locations. Someone comes in, they're like, I want to buy out your bar, every bottle in your bar. And I do that, and they open up a liquor stand in the front of my store, using my shit, right in front of my store, in front of my bar. That's the type of shit. And they're just like, you know, come on, man.
I know. This is what I'm wondering. Who in the? I mean, where are those Nintendo ninjas when you need them to take this thing down? That's the thing that's bugging me because
this is called they fucking up.
I'm not sure. Because I'm not sure. Because they get all active when normal people try to make things, but when it comes to other companies, I'm wondering where some of them are. Because if they're busy, then I think they need to adjust priorities.
So basically, you know, well, I mean, you can't say they're busy because here's the thing. Corona shut everything down, so what the fuck are they doing? You know, but that's neither here nor there. So basically, our next little bit of Nintendo Online news, they're adding 3 games! Yeah! Yeah! 3 games! Yeah! You pay $20 a year for this shit! They're adding 3 games! And here are the 3 games!
Can you at least tell me what games they are before you start being an insult hound?
The first game is Donkey Kong Country. It's not out yet. It'll be out the 15th, but, you know, Donkey Kong Country! Now, to be fair, Donkey Kong Country is one of the best games ever made. Best 2D platformers ever made, so, you know, you're not in bad company when you get a game like that. I mean, you know, that's a bright point. You know what else you get for your $20 a year, folks? you get Natsume Championship Wrestling! Yeah! And of course, another goodin', straight from the horse's asshole, the Immortal from the publishers at EA for the NES.
Are you done yet?
So basically, you're getting one diamond, 1 cubic zirconia, and a turd for $20 a year. Yeah. Now, at this point, you're at, I know some people say, well, it'll take time. Do you know how many games were available for the Wii Shop Virtual Console 3 years into the console's life cycle? A fuck ton more than this shit. That's all I'm gonna say. A fuck ton more than this shit. That's all I'll say. I don't remember the exact number, but they had the greatest hits from the NES, the SNES, the N64, the Sega Genesis, Sega Master System, TurboGrafx 16. I mean, really, it was fucking awesome. And you didn't have to, and you weren't like, and your shit wasn't locked online where you got to check in online in order to play this library of games. Most of which are shit, or not most. I would say on the NES, about a third of the games on the NES Virtual Nintendo Online Library is pretty good, and on the SNES, I'd say about half are good games. The rest of them are like, eh. People are paying for this. So we have an online that allows a game that's basically an asset flip of a mobile software development kit, free assets they just cobbled together, and rips of Nintendo's own music in the game. And then we have online service that they use to replace the virtual console that's just fucking trash.
Bro,
Well,
This is right, folks. The one that loves to punch low.
Well, I mean, I didn't really punch low. I literally look, listen. I didn't punch low, okay? If you literally take your crotch and stick it in front of my head, and I'm walking forward at my normal height, and I can't move out the way, and my head just smashes into your crotch, hey, maybe you shouldn't stand in front of me with your crotch like right in front of my walking path. Maybe you shouldn't do that. Maybe you shouldn't be making easy to avoid fuck ups like this. But speaking, what, me? Well, I mean, I wouldn't, like, if I owned a video game console, I wouldn't possibly, at least I'd like to think that I wouldn't make easy to avoid fuck ups like that. But that's just me, like, here's the thing: the excuse that Nintendo just doesn't have the money to deal with these types of things.
I didn't even say that.
No, I'm saying.
You know it.
Well, you aren't making that excuse, but that's some excuse that some people that they made during the Wii U. Where with the Wii U, I could understand it because the Wii U was like the first 2 years of its life. They were like, well, we have to sell it with a game in order for it to be pretty profitable and all that shit. Switch has been profitable since day one. It's like the highest selling piece of gaming software in several years. They're making money hand over fist. There's no excuse for this. None. Like zero excuse for this mediocrity. But, because Nintendo, like, here's the thing. It'd be one thing if, this was like, if this was like the Wii where it was like Nintendo's first foray into online gameplay or online services, like first real like worldwide foray, because the N64 and the SNES had like online shit going on. Even the NES in Japan had like a modem that you could attach to it and shit. But this is like the first time worldwide that they really were like, yeah, we're going to do all this shit worldwide, eShop, all that shit. And, I mean, like, it's not, though. Because, like I said, they had the Wii, the Wii U, the 3DS, and yet we're getting this, could be a whole fucking lot better service. But, enough about that. Uh, see if we have any comments. Nope, no comments. So, let's see. Our next news story: Microsoft was reportedly blocking publishers for charging for Xbox Series X, aka Sexbox upgrade charges. Like, they're not going to be like, oh, well, it's $10 for you to upgrade from the current gen model to the next gen model of this game. So, there's some pro-consumer shit right there. That's nice. So, God damn it, man!
What happened?
Japanese gamers are getting Shin Megami Tensei on the Super Famicom and Vice Project Doom. God damn it. Sorry, no. Yeah, they're getting Shin Megami Tensei, DKC, and Vice Project Doom for the NES. Yeah, they're getting even better games in Japan. Fuck, they don't give a fuck about us. They really don't. They don't give a fuck about it. They're like, yeah, fuck you. You'll take whatever we give you, and fuck anything else. Now, to be fair, that's me putting words into their mouth. They could give a fuck about us at all. They just haven't had the resources to really give us something really meaty. But that's what it feels like to me.
I was gonna say more like personal tastes around here than over there.
I don't know. I think Shin Megami Tensei is a great RPG for the system. Yeah, it's dark and it's got it's like 16-bit titties in it, but I mean, you're summoning evil demon creatures from another dimension. There's gonna be pixelated titties. I'm sorry. If you can't handle pixelated titties, get out the pool. But shit, man, how come they getting better shit in Japan? That's some bullshit. But anyway, yeah. So Microsoft is basically blocking publishers from screwing over gamers with their dual entitlement scheme.
Might want to explain it for some of us here.
Okay, so basically, as we know, Microsoft is coming out with a new console this year. And
non-exclusive one.
The Sexbox, as I like to call it, because it's called the Xbox Series X. And I cut off the Re's and just have the SE and the X. So it's the Xbox Sex, or the Sexbox, if you will. So the Sexbox, the Series Xbox, basically Microsoft is saying that we're not going to let you. We're trying not to have you basically charge people upcharge for both versions of the game. Now 2K is getting around this by basically fucking people over and saying, we're going to charge you $100 for NBA 2K for Xbox One and Xbox Series X, like bundled together, so you get both versions. But I mean that's kind of bullshit, because really, like the Xbox and the PS5 and the PS4 and the Xbox One are basically gaming PCs, and like the code is the same. Like the only thing that changes is that you have. It's kind of like if you have a PC, right, and you upgrade to another PC. That game hasn't changed that you had that you bought on Steam. Yeah, you might be able to have more shit going on in that game. You know what I mean? Like you might be able to. You might be able to have more shit going on screen and stuff, but that's all that's going on. You know what I mean? Like you're not. There isn't fundamentally a lot of extra shit going on. This is just them wanting to charge people because they're greedy bastards. That's all it is. So Microsoft's like, yeah, we're trying. They're discouraging developers from just fucking people over like that, which is the only little bit of pro consumer news we've seen. Because Sony hasn't said a goddamn word about the shit, fuckers. Um, so I just thought, there's some for those of you looking forward to buying next gen hardware. I don't know why, because people are fucking broke.
I was gonna say that also they managed to keep. If I think about it, there has been some problems trying to keep. What was it? Man, okay, I'm having a headache here trying to think about it. Oh yeah, now I remember. It was because some of these places have different laws and stuff, but then again, if anything, the gamers are supposed to be having some power because, well, if we buy digital, we can't even do a refund, basically.
Yeah, that is kind of trash because when you buy something digitally, you're buying a license. Now, the cool thing about buying a license is like when you have the license to something is that you can download it whenever the hell you want. Like all the games I downloaded off the Wii U, if I go to the Wii U Virtual Console, um, sorry, the Wii, yeah, the Wii U eShop, I can still the Wii U Virtual Console, I can still download all those games. Those games are on my hard drive attached to my Wii U. I can play all those games again. That's fucking awesome. Um, that like you can go back and download shit that you downloaded a while ago. The problem is, of course, when a game has some type of component that's dependent on an online connection. Like there are games that you cannot legitimately play because the servers have been taken out. Especially a lot of EA games. Like one of my favorite games for the 7th gen was Mercenaries 2. And because it didn't sell as well as the first game, EA pulled the servers after like the game was out like after a month.
For two, hold on, they pulled it after a month.
Yeah, the servers were on for a month, but the game didn't sell all that well, even though it was a cross-gen game. Came out for the PS2 and the PS3. I got mine for the PS3. And if you have that game and you try to connect to the internet, it will crash because there's no server for it to connect to. And Mercenaries 2
Oh
is
great, now I got the Sims memories.
well, it's not really The Sims. It's more like
I mean, SimCity.
not even like SimCity. It's more like Spore. Spore, not the first Spore, but Spore 2, Dark Hero, Dark Spore,
Oh.
Dark Spore, the game that even if you have the physical CD for, and you install it, you cannot play that game because in order for you to play it, it has to be connected. It has to talk to a fucking server for you to play that game. So even if you have the physical disc, it doesn't fucking matter because you can't play the game because they have online DRM for you to play the goddamn game. And more games are doing that now, where either like a whole bunch of the functionality of the game is savagely curtailed if you don't have an online connection. Like if you want to play Smash Brothers Ultimate, right? If you want to play Smash Brothers Ultimate and you don't have an online connection, which means you can't download any of the patches, you can't download any of the extra content. Good luck playing that game. I mean, yeah, you got the single player, which is,
Hey, it's a mixed bag. Not bad, but
I
mixed.
mean, let me put it this way: the adventure mode is shit. The classic mode is the same that it's always been. So if you love the classic mode, it's great. If you kind of the classic mode hasn't really changed substantially in like 5 games at this point. So I mean, it is what it is. So I mean, but if you don't have an online connection, no tournaments. You can't download the patches. Those extra characters, you can't get those, so you don't have it online. So basically, at this point, 50% of the game, well, not 50%, in terms of characters, like 33% of the characters, you don't have access to. Some of those extra stages, you don't have access to. So a good chunk of that game is just gone. It doesn't exist.
Okay, you're being a little bit too greedy there. If anything, it's about at least 30 to 25.
That's what I said. A good 33%, a good third of the game. If you do not have an online, if you don't have any online connection, which means you can't download the patches, you cannot download the expansion, the season pass characters, all that shit, the special, the extra characters, the extra stages. So a third of the game gone. Now, of course, you don't have online, so you would know that a third of the game isn't available to you. But if you had friends who had online and went to their house, you would be fundamentally playing a completely different game than what came out day one. So, this online shit is insidious
With
and
certain
ubiquitous
games, it clearly is.
and eponymous. It's everywhere, goddammit. So I guess we can get to another downer story. I know. There's a lot of downer news this week. Unfortunately. Unfortunately. So I got this news off of BBC. So basically, in the Smash Brothers community, there has been some really fucked up shit.
And as much as I like to say that Smash has a crazy North versus South kind of deal with people loving Melee and people loving Ultimate, there's one thing that they both have, which is a bit of a mess that even I have to wonder, how did they miss this?
Well, this has nothing against. This is nothing about the games. This is about people who were basically molesting children.
And let me guess, it's multiracial, so that you can't even hide that behind a wall.
Well, I mean, I don't know the racial makeup of the people who did this. I just know that it's pretty fucked up. So anyway, here's the story. Let's get into this. Let's dive into this news story. So basically, dozens of allegations of inappropriate behavior have been made against competitors in Nintendo Super Smash fighting game series. Several of the allegations involve young teenagers and older players. The allegations surrounding the Smash Brothers competitive community are wide-ranging, going from inappropriate sexual messages to sexual relationships with minors on the sidelines of tournament events, and even accusations of rape. Apparently, the guy who was the CEO of EVO was doing some really fucked up shit with little kids, young boys, particularly. Apparently, there's like a Reddit where there's like 60, 70 different allegations that people have made that's just like goddamn, like apparently there were like parties. There were parties where there was like no adult, no parental supervision with people who now we know are like sexual predators with just kids. It's pretty fucked up, really. It's really fucked up. Like I mean, god damn, this is fucked up. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I really don't know. My heart goes out to the people who were abused. The people who abuse people. Fuck you guys. So
makes this feel even harder to work with, huh?
I mean, this is just a little. This is just like a.
WTF?
Like it's the thing that's fucked up about it is just like here's the thing, okay? People now I'm just saying this in general. People like to equate people who like Nintendo products as being kiddie, and like the insult that with back in the last gen was pedophiles. And now it turns out, in the Smash Brother community, there were pedophiles and rapists too, which
Yeah.
is terrifying. I mean, that's fucking terrifying. That this, and the thing is like this went on apparently for years.
Under the nose, no less.
No, there were people who knew about it. They just didn't say anything.
Ah.
Yeah. A lot of times when you hear about shit like this, there's not that anyone knew. It's just people knew about it and didn't say anything. It's not like, oh, well, I didn't know. Like, typically when you see really fucked up shit happen, it's not that anyone knew. People didn't say anything.
Ah.
Like, I didn't know. No, someone knew. It's like that shit with Harvey Weinstein. People knew Harvey Weinstein did that shit. They just didn't say anything.
Or not want to say anything of feeling like a snitch.
Yeah, people either didn't say anything because a lot of the people who were doing this were, how could I put this? They were essentially people in power.
Partners in crime.
And they felt, well, I mean, like, here's the thing, okay? If the person who's doing fucked up shit is your boss, and if you say something, you lose your job, like, here's the thing. A lot of people feel like if this happened, I'd have principles. But here's the thing. If you've got a mortgage, children you have to take care of, bills you got to pay, and you have a job that's letting you hold that shit down, and the person who's your boss, who's your immediate boss, is doing fucked up shit, and if you told on them, you could possibly get retaliated on or fired. It's like, okay, you know, I feel,
22, right?
yeah, I feel sorry for the victim, but I also got my own shit I got to take care of, you know? Hey, I'm not saying that makes it okay, but I can understand why some people would be quiet. It's just the thing is, it's like there comes a tipping point where I can't, like, there comes a tipping point. Yeah, you can't not say anything at a certain point. Like, there comes a tipping point where it's like, okay, you find out your boss is a womanizer. Well, that's not really my business that they're a womanizer. You find out they're using their position of power to coerce women into having sex with them. Well, that's not womanizing, that's rape. And that's where you got to be like, okay, the line has been drawn. Yeah, that was there was a line, you crossed it at rape. You know, Jason Quayler and other people doing shady shit, like doing borderline inappropriate things with children. Okay, you know, it might not be to the point where you've crossed the line, but once you find out someone was crossed the line, you're gonna be like, look, this motherfucker's doing some shady shit. Now, as someone who actually worked in private industry in a nonprofit where I had to be around kids, like literally before you even work around children, they take a telescope and shove it up your ass and look for you for any shady thing you've done. And then if you've done something shady, they kick your ass out. They ask you to leave. Now, fortunately for me, I've never done anything shady, so I was allowed to work there for 2 years, volunteer there for 2 years. So I have nothing against, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
But, I mean, the fact that you would have these people around children and you wouldn't vet them, that they could be around children, is kind of telling that just what type of half-ass organization are you running?
Yeah, especially when you consider how big certain events are.
Yeah, I mean, you've got all these, and all of this really stems from the fact that there was no one at the helm basically saying, okay, how are you guys running this shit? There was no one at the helm saying, hey man, what are you doing? How are you running this?
Makes it kind of hard to actually imagine how the competition is going to go on. But
well,
then again,
I mean, to be honest with you, the only thing they could possibly do is rebrand and have have a big code of conduct thing where they're like, look, in order for you to be around these kids, you're going to have to do a background check. We will have adult supervision. You will not be allowed to be alone with these children and do X, Y, or Z. But even then, it's like there's been so much. I mean, like I said, there's like a big Reddit post where there's like 63, 73 allegations, and even if a third of that is true, it's too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like something like it's like watching a little black dot, like watching a little white dot clean out an entire black area.
I mean, I mean, every possible way you could have done something wrong, they found a way to do it. It's like, how can I fuck up everything? Oh, this is how I can do it. Okay, that works. It's like, let me fuck this up. That's basically what they did.
And it's not one of those you had one job, kind of gigs, right?
I mean, like all they had. Look, listen. Okay, for the Smash Bros. Things, for Evo, their only job was to promote fighting, promote online fighting games, like fighting games as a thing. That was their. They were designed to make it more mainstream, more cool, more acceptable. And I'm pretty sure having people molest children and having people getting into sexual relationships with young children is not acceptable behavior, and this makes people more likely not to let their kids do shit like this. This is what makes it more likely for people to be like, no, I don't want my kids involved with this shit. So like, and this all stems from there not being adult supervision. Hell, some of the adults were part of the people involved with the shit.
Which makes things a little more awkward.
Yeah, it's this is just some bullshit. This is
no contest. That's BS.
I can't even.
It's a bigger amount than we usually deal with.
Yeah, to wash the taste of that trash out of our mouth, I have a fun story right here from Rob Fahey. This came out Friday last week, and the title of this article is "Amazon and Google are in games for the wrong reason," and it's an op-ed piece, which means it's an opinion. So I will read this article on air. The games industry has its share of flops, from games which simply never get the audience and interest their creators hope for, through to games which totally miss the mark and excuse me, I'm wiping down my glasses, which totally miss the mark and fizzle out rapidly despite strong pre-launch hype and decent pre-order numbers. Every year brings a number of launches, even from very major publishers and studios, that just don't pan out. Much less common, though, to the point of being almost eyebrow-raising, is a game that launches to such universal disinterest that its publisher straight up unlaunches it, shoving it right back into its box, telling everyone to move along, nothing to see here at all. And he says that's pretty much what happened to arena shooter Crucible this week, though, with this game, which launched at the end of May, being put back into closed beta. It's not being shut down entirely, and the developer will apparently continue on the title, but since new players can no longer sign up, it will only now be accessible to a pretty small audience of existing players. This would be a pretty embarrassing about-face for just any games company. It's rendered far more so, however, by the fact that Crucible was meant to be the big-budget PC title that will announce the entry of one of the world's biggest tech companies, Amazon, to the core gaming market. Needless to say, the utter lack of interest in Crucible is a terrible way for Amazon to make a start. The company seems to have miscalculated basically everything around this game. The title itself is so boring and derivative in its current form. The launch has been botched, and as for what it is, and as for what it thought it was doing in terms of marketing and building awareness for the game, well, let's just say it's mind-boggling that this is the best a company worth $1 trillion off the back off of selling things could do. Yet it's worth stepping back for a moment and taking note of the fact that on paper, Crucible was a solid prospect in some ways. Relentless.
Solid.
Well, here's this argument. Relentless Studios, its creator, has a solid roster of development talent with good track records. The budget was decent, and the Amazon Lumberyard engine it runs on is a fork of Crytek's CryEngine, which is generally well regarded. If you looked merely at the people developing it, the resources at their disposal, and even the technology they were using, there's nothing about Crucible that leaps out and screams, disaster! Nothing except for the one thing that looms over the whole project, Amazon itself.
I was about to say, did they forget about what Amazon is?
Well, let me continue with his article. Look, Amazon is a great company. It's not just an amazing retailer. It's also done an extraordinary job of making itself a top-tier player in a host of other areas, including content delivery and cloud services. I would not bet against Amazon being one of the world's dominant corporations for decades to come. In fact, full disclosure, I have done the opposite of that and own shares of Amazon. However, Amazon is not a games company. And while the existence of an Amazon game studio and its investment in titles like Crucible suggest that it wishes to become a games company, there are some pretty huge red flags around the entire business strategy, many of which are waving frantically over what just happened with Crucible. Actually, this isn't even a story about Amazon, because the embarrassing launch followed by "oops, no, let's actually unlaunch that" dance with the company, which the company just did, isn't even the first such furor to happen in recent months. Late last year, another $1 trillion, or just about, tech giant also made its big pitch to become a player in the game industry and fell flat on its face. I would personally say fell on their ass into a wood chipper. Except that's Google Stadia's was hyped up as a whole new platform, and thus an even bigger deal and an even harder fall than Amazon's effort at becoming a game publisher. Both companies, it should be noted, are down but not out. Neither of them have given up on the game businesses. But they've both experienced pretty bad pratfalls off the back of product launches that were supposed to put them on the map in this space, and show how serious they are being a force to be reckoned with in gaming. I think there are two major threads that link both Amazon and Google's failures. One of them, probably the most important, is simply that neither company actually has a proper rationale for being in the game business to begin with. In both cases, their reasoning is entirely instrumental. They both operate major cloud services platforms. Games happen to be a great way to leverage cloud services, so they want to make games that rely on the Amazon web services or Google Cloud backends. That's why these companies, both of which have been giant players in tech for going on 2 decades, are suddenly interested in being in the games business. It's not a coincidence, it's a convergent evolution. The same force that made online retailer Amazon and search engine company Google into competitors all of a sudden, namely their overlapping desire to be a market leader in cloud services, has also pushed both companies to try and make a splash in the games business. The problem is that it's not a reason to make games. It's an end that they think games could fulfill. The games themselves are just a means to the end, which makes it entirely unsurprising when the games and the services birthed from that philosophy aren't actually appealing or interesting to consumers. They're not designed from the outset to appeal to consumers. They're designed to connect a few things together in a corporate planning flowchart. There's nothing in the DNA of these companies which actually lends itself to making great games. That's something you can bootstrap by importing great talent and experience from the game industry, sure, but the strongest seeds can still wither in barren soil. Come at the whole notion of game and service development with the attitude that you merely want a product that fulfills a completely different corporate need is a surefire way to a pretty barren harvest. This leads to a second commonality, which is that while both companies have indeed hired some pretty impressive talent behind the scenes, people who do genuinely get games and who would, in the right environment, be able to make a pretty solid fist out of launching a major new competitor into the market, there's still a fundamental and deep-seated lack of understanding or interest in games at the top levels of the company. As a result, the whole notion of being in the games business itself seems like a big risk and a radical move to the decision makers, which utterly extinguishes their appetite for taking any creative risk or making any radical moves in the games and services they actually offer. Okay, we're almost through. The most important and undeniable criticism of both Google and Amazon's entries into the games industry is that they're boring. Stadia is a boring service. Google seems convinced that changing the way games are delivered is exciting. It is not. Games are exciting. The technical details of how they're played doesn't matter until it starts messing with the experience, at which point it's annoying. At its very best, it's not exciting, it's invisible. Google was so convinced that the delivery mechanisms were exciting in and of themselves that it became incredibly late to the realization that maybe they were going to need exclusive games for it, none of which we've seen yet. As for Amazon, Crucible is an undeniably boring game. A cookie-cutter arena shooter that's got designed by committee scrawled all over it, which shows little of the talent or creativity you might have expected given the pedigree of its developers. The fact that Amazon has the kind of financial clout to be able to develop a game, launch it, and then say, oops, nope, back to closed beta without breaking a sweat is wasted here. With the capacity to fritter away cash like this, imagine the creative risk they could have taken. Instead, the money is being wasted because Amazon really doesn't get games, sees his whole experience as inherently being out there, and thus has backed itself into a corner where doing something uninteresting was the only thing that would fly with the firm's management. So basically, these problems aren't unique to Amazon and Google. There's plenty of hope yet that these companies might overcome their rocky starts. After all, Microsoft's Xbox team has literally spent decades fighting like tigers to protect their little fiefdom within the company. And that battle hasn't always been won without compromise. Xbox One was arguably the product of a badly tuned compromise with the company's inherently conservative ideas about gaming. And even the Xbox Series X, for all the hardware is impressive and the growing lineup of first-party studios is hugely promising, is the product of a carefully balanced compromise between the people at Xbox who generally get games and the rest of Microsoft who don't care about anything other than how games can implement Azure and Windows. As for Sony, the Japanese firm had its own long series of battles for the soul of PlayStation, how it related to the rest of Sony's content and hardware lineup. That only really came to an end when the PlayStation effectively consumed the rest of the company from inside out, with the promotion of Kaz Hirai to CEO in the early 2010s. At their heart, though, both Sony and Microsoft currently make games because they see them as a pillar of their business, or at least enough people in senior decision-making roles see video games as a pillar in itself, rather than a means to support other business ventures. That allows the freedom to make creative decisions and take risks based on what people who really understand video games think will entertain and delight their audiences. Google and Amazon aren't there. Not yet, at least. They're making games because they think games could be a useful means to boost totally different pillars. Of course, there are passionate people in the game segment of both companies, but as long as the core thing they're working towards isn't make awesome games that people love, but rather fulfill these KPIs related to other business segments, it's impossible for them to unleash their talent and make games or services that are actually meaningful. Until Amazon and Google can find a way to insulate their creative processes and funding decisions from that kind of thinking, all their billions won't be able to buy success. Oh, and that was the entire op-ed article.
And
it was awesome.
I was going to say that it was a great way to see Google or Microsoft get shafted that way. It kind of was therapeutic, especially watching these guys try to do some flexing to try to explain it all off.
Well, I mean, like, here's the thing. Microsoft, I mean, why do you think the Xbox division really was fucking up for 3 generations? Because it was run like this. They were like, oh, well, this division will help us do this. They weren't in it for gaming. They were in it because they wanted it to fulfill some need that the company wanted in another sphere. And that's why, to me, I never bought an Xbox. I was like, these people don't get gaming. They get marketing, they get hype, but they don't get gaming. And in my opinion, in the largest degree, they still don't get gaming. So, I mean, what are your thoughts about that article?
It was fun watching them try to explain all that, and oh boy, it tells me that Microsoft really needs help.
Yeah, Microsoft does need help. I think that the Xbox Series X, if it doesn't take off like gangbusters, I think this may be the unequivocal end I think you'll still have like a virtual Xbox, but I don't think you'll see like.
Physical ones around.
I think they'll just quietly be like, okay, we're done, bye, pull the plug and call it a day. So that being said, I guess we can move on to the final segment, which is unpopular opinions. I have
Oh
two
boy.
of them, but I'll let you go first. What is your unpopular opinion? You have 60 seconds to to give your argument. Let me get the timer ready, and once I do, I'll tell you when you can go, and then we'll get it started. So timer. Okay, the timer is ready. You ready?
To be honest with you, I'm surprised I actually came up with this on a minute, but I'm ready a little bit.
Okay, now I have to reset it. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, go.
Okay. So this is on topic with Smash Brothers, and I'm gonna likely get some hate because of this, but then again, who doesn't? Um, you melee lovers, you you control breaking little freaks of nature. You guys need to grow the f up, play some Ultimate, or at the very least, ga- try some other fighting games. I heard that I heard that Street Fighter 3 was a good thing. Oh, what about Killer Instinct? Yeah, try those games and then or at least get Ultimate, since if anything, those are one of the more updated quality games of fighting. And before anybody asks, also, yes, Smash is in a sense a fighting game. That is if you set it up right. And I probably got a little time left.
No, no, you were you made it. You had like 2 seconds left. My argument with that is this. I don't think Smash Brothers is a fighting game. It's a party game.
I said it's a fighting game in a sense if you set it up right.
Even if you even like okay, if you set it up like a fighting game where there's no items, ultimate Omega arena where there's like no items, no arena, and just 3 stock, best out of 3. Even then,
Even with the HP meters.
even with that, like that's not fun to me. Like Smash is at its best when all types of shit's going down, all types of shit's getting exploded over here and shit's getting exploded over there. That's what makes.
Oh, if anything, oh yes, that is what Smash Ship is supposed to be, and I would love that to be the standard for fighting.
But that's a party game. That's not a fighting game.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You know.
If anything, it's all super footsies and trying to break your controller in order to do stuff. I mean, where's the think on the fly kind of thinking?
Well, I mean, like I said, like here's the thing: people trying to cram Smash Brothers into a fighting game is what made Smash into not a fun series. Like basically, for me, my enjoyment of the Smash series kind of went downhill after Brawl. Like Smash 4 is Ultimate Ultimate's like a better version of 4, but still not that great to me. So
if anything, I actually at least I treat I treat Brawl like it's the biggest fu to those fighting game lovers.
yeah,
which I actually love.
the only Smash game that I can that like Brawl is a great party game. Melee, I mean, if you want to play it like a party game, you can, but because Melee people take it so goddamn seriously, you can't even really enjoy it when you play it like that.
Yeah.
So for me, I'll if I'm gonna whip out a Smash game to play in a party setting, which I believe it or not, I did have a video game party last week, Sunday, not last week, Sunday of last week. I invited some friends over who tested negative for Corona. They got their test results like that Friday, and they pretty much have been sitting in their houses, not really going around doing anything. So I was like, okay, I'll trust them. So they came to my house, and we played some video games, ate some food. It was nice. But I wasn't playing Smash Ultimate or Smash 4. I had Brawl and I had Smash 64 on my on my Wii U because through the Virtual Console. That's what we played. like because those games are like Smash 64 is actually a fun party game. Brawl is a fun party game. Like I don't want to play Smash seriously, competitively. Why? That makes no sense.
I know, that's the thing. I feel like the Smash series has lost its fun ever since some of these fighting game lovers wanted to push it their way in.
Look, any game where I can basically get a fan and break someone's guard with a fan, that is not a serious fighting game. I'm sorry. Any game where I can perfectly guard and bounce a projectile back at somebody, that's not a perfect fighting game. Stop trying to make Smash Brothers into a fighting game. Look, this shit could have been avoided with the Smash Brothers community. Well, they probably would have found some other way to molest people, but Smash wouldn't have been involved with the shit if you people had not tried to make it to a fighting game. But that's just me.
Yeah, which is why I said that it is a fighting game under certain settings, but otherwise it's mostly a party game.
Yeah. So I have two unpopular opinions. I'll give my lesser one first, and I have a minute. So here we go. My lesser unpopular opinion is this. If I'm having a video game party, now this isn't something that happened to me personally, but I was watching a commercial, like an old commercial, and it came up. And they're like, if you're at, like, it was a Taco Bell commercial. Like, if you're having a party, bring Taco Bell. Let me tell you something. If I'm having a party and you fucking bring Taco Bell as the party food, you're not invited to my party ever again.
I was about to say. Go ahead.
Taco Bell is not party food. Okay? Hey, here are the 4 party foods that you can bring to a party. Chinese food, appetizers, like pot stickers, egg rolls, pizza, sliders, drinks, beverages. That's it. Okay, that was my minute. I was gonna go further, but
It went to a list of foods.
yeah, but my point is, it's if you're bringing Taco Bell to a party, you're a terrible party goer.
I was about to say, you're a terrible party guest.
Okay, because that's just not cool.
Who bring diarrhea food to the party?
Well, it's not even that. It's just like, really? Like, no. Taco Bell is not what I would consider, hey, man, this is what I want to eat for X, Y, or Z. That's not
quality munchies.
No. Like I said, pizza, great. There's a place, like, I don't live near a White Castle. Like, there isn't a White Castle near me. But I have a White Castle knockoff near me, and they sell shit that's comparable to White Castle, like, in terms of pricing and what's on the menu. So if you want to, like, that's what I did that's what I did Sunday when I had my video game party at my house. There was, like, 8 people, excluding myself, so 9. I went by White Castle. Another friend of mine bought 2 pizzas. They actually just came to my house and ordered them and had them delivered. I got like 2 party boxes of sliders. 1 party box of like 20 sliders each. So 1 party box of like cheeseburger sliders, another party box of hamburger sliders, and then I got a small bag of like those veggie sliders.
Yeah,
right?
I actually ordered veggie sliders.
Well, not veggie, but vegetarian, meatless. Like for people who are vegetarians, because at least one of my friends is a vegetarian. They don't eat meat, and I wanted them to have an opportunity as well. So we had that, a cheese pizza, a pepperoni and sausage and mushroom pizza. I bought.
You think they're all cheese?
Well, I mean, look, the vegetarian person can have cheese. There you go. Let's see. I had a cooler full of beer and sodas, and we just played video games, and it was great. They were here for like 4 or 5 hours.
Must have been a riot.
It was great. Having personal connection and not having to worry about Corona Um, everyone had their shit together. It was great. It was great. Um, my other unpopular opinion. This one's a bit more, maybe a bit more
Personal.
controversial, but I don't give a fuck. So here we go. My major unpopular opinion is that Rare at their prime were making games that were better than Nintendo's first party titles. Um, and when I say Rare at their prime, I mean like from the fourth gen to the fifth gen, they were making games that were better than Nintendo shit. Like Super Mario 64, great game. Is it better than Banjo Kazooie or Banjo Tooie? Fuck no. Super Mario Kart 64. It's a good game. Is it better than Diddy Kong Racing? Fuck no. Um, like basically, like Rare at their best were outperforming Nintendo. Um, and that's amazing to me because, like, Nintendo, in my opinion, has some of the best first-party studios in the industry, but Rare was going toe-to-toe and in some cases knocking them out with their games. And my minute is up.
Nice timing.
So anyone want to
I still argue that
want
if
to at me
anything,
on that?
if anything, I say that they're more well known for their N64 legacy than their SNES legacy, but it's not to say that it was downsized.
I would say that their N64 games were more popular, had more mass market appeal. Like GoldenEye, like people who didn't even have N64s knew about GoldenEye.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
But not people who knew, like not everybody knew Rare was behind the Donkey Kong Country games. But people who played the Donkey Kong Country games were like, shit, this is fucking amazing. So,
and this is from somebody that has Donkey Kong Country 1 and 2, mind you.
yeah, I have all the games. I have Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, 3. I have the GameCube game, the two GameCube games, Donkey Konga and Donkey Kong Jungle Beat. I have
Those were weird games. I'm gonna admit that.
I have those weird Game Boy Advance games that kind of suck. King of Swing. I have.
You got that one?
Yeah, I have Donkey Kong 64. Donkey Kong 64, which I love. I have
Diddy Kong Racing.
Diddy Kong Racing, obviously. Gotta have Diddy Kong Racing.
I have GoldenEye 007 too, so.
Yeah, I have GoldenEye. I have Perfect Dark. I have like every Rare game that's on the N64. I have. I have all the Rare games on the N64. Blast Core, I have that. I have Blast Core.
Actually, that confused me a little bit. Blast Corps?
Yeah, Blast. The S is silent. Blast Core. I have Blast Core. I have Blast Core. I have. I think Blast Core was Rare. Let me check. I don't want to put something out and not have Blast Core developed.
Credit, right?
Well, it's either Blast Core was either Rare or it was either Rare. Yeah, it was Rare. It's developed by Rare. Yes, Rare. So yeah, I have Blast Core. I have because I don't have the cartridge right in front of me. But I have Blast Core. I have Donkey Kong Country 60. I have Donkey Kong 64. I have Banjo Kazooie, Banjo Tooie, Jet Force Gemini. Let's see, GoldenEye, Perfect Dark. All the Rare games, Killer Instinct Gold. I have all the Rare games for the SNES and N64. So, I mean, I'm not just saying this shit, oh, well, you're just a Rare fanboy. No, I have the great Nintendo first-party titles, too. But what I'm saying is that Rare, when they were at their best, were actually making games that were better than Nintendo's games. Like, I would say that on a technical level, Donkey Kong Country 1 and 2 are better than Super Mario World and Super Mario... Well, they called it Super Mario World 2, but it really wasn't. It was Yoshi's Island. Better than Yoshi's Island.
Yeah.
I would say on a technical level, yeah, Super Mario 64 is great. Love that game. Banjo-Kazooie is way better than Super Mario 64. It's got more expansive worlds. There's more shit in the
I was
worlds.
gonna
There's
say the
more
Banjo
shit to do.
series beat Mario 64.
You know, I love Mario 64, but it's not better on a technical level than Banjo Kazooie. And then, like, here's the thing: Banjo Kazooie isn't even my favorite 3D action adventure on the N64. Like, I would take Conker's Bad Fur Day or Donkey Kong 64 over Banjo Kazooie or Banjo Tooie. I mean, Banjo Kazooie and Tooie are good. Don't get me wrong, but I like Banjo always kind of controlled well, he's a bear. He doesn't control very agilely, and I like, and then Conker controls just as badly as Banjo, but Conker has better writing and it's funnier. So I kind of like let some of that go.
It's funny that I actually prefer Banjo over Conker for that one.
Well, you probably don't like the vulgarity of Conker's Bad Fur Day as much, but
Actually, I still get laughs out of it. But
I
if
like
anything,
the vulgarity.
I was saying that if anything, I like the comedy of of um of Conker. It's just that if anything, I don't like it in heavy amounts.
Yeah, so for me, I got Conker's Bad Fur Day when I was in the height of my teenage year. Well, right before I was entering into my teenage years. So like I was really heavily into that sophomoric humor, and even now, like that game is just like the thing about Conker's Bad Fur Day was that it's funny on multiple levels because if you're a kid, the jokes are just sophomore. Oh, they cursed. But then as you get older, it's like, oh, that's even a deeper joke than I was thinking. So,
I was about to say they get meta with those jokes.
like, okay, like I'll give you an example, right? There's the cog who wants to have
the other gears.
the female cogs put onto his peg in such a way that it's like they're giving him a blowjob, right? But but here's the thing: if you flip him upside down, it turns out he's gay. Like the reason he's so ultra, these female cogs need to do this is because he's secretly really gay. So like the whole thing is like a big like that's really deep in meta. You know, that's a really deep joke, and it's like if you're a kid, that goes completely over your head.
I was saying that I get the joke in multiple ways because of the fact that I know what gears usually do.
Yeah. You know, it's I mean, the game has really clever writing. The jokes are multi-layered.
So if anything, some jokes
I mean, they're dirty.
Funny. I know
They're dirty, but you know,
jokes are so dirty, are so funny, and yet so dirty. It sometimes takes a moment to stop laughing to catch other jokes.
Yeah, that's the hallmark. That's the hallmark of really good writing is when it works on multiple layers. So I mean,
it takes a while to get one joke after another joke comes up.
Like Mario 64 doesn't have like Mario doesn't like no Mario game. No one's gonna be like, man, this Mario game has great writing. Like the only Mario games that have good writing.
Mario's known for the gameplay.
The only Mario games that you say this has good writing is maybe the Paper Mario games and maybe like the first two.
I was gonna say
maybe the third one.
The RPG series of Mario is kind of neat to me as far as writing goes.
Maybe the first three games have good writing. After that, it's all just, hey, this is for kids. We'll give you the clue in color coded things so that your dumbass can't figure out a puzzle. You know, like that's basically like, but that's neither here nor there. So Rare at their best were outperforming Nintendo in terms of the quality of games they were making. Yes, I said it. Don't at me. Well, you can at me. You can at me on Twitter about whether or not you agree or disagree. But
I could agree with you. It's just that if anything, I say that's better on the N64 than on the
Conker's Bad Fur Day.
As in, I think most of the best games that that Rare had that that would be remembered well, that goes to the N64.
Well, I would say that they had a better variety on the N64. Like they had all those open world adventure games. They had a kart racer. They had a fighting game. Whereas on the N64, they had 2D platformers and a fighting game. Well, no, they had a beat 'em up with Battletoads Double Dragon, but that's not a really good fighting game. It's serviceable, but it's
Dragon.
hard. It's hard. Oh god, that game is hard as fuck after the third level.
I'm glad I probably didn't hear about the Double Dragon one.
Yeah, yeah. It was done by Rare's other arm, uh, Ultra Tech.
Um, there's some there's some odd meta humor with that one. Oh
Well,
boy.
this was before they came out with Killer Instinct. So yeah, Ultra Tech was Rare's other arm that did other games, so that they could get around the publishing restrictions on Nintendo's hardware. It's what let them basically make a whole bunch of games for Konami back in the day, and like Konami and like other like LJN for the Game Boy and NES. Yeah, Rare had been in the game for a long time. You know, it's a shame they were bought by Microsoft and turned into shit. But what are you gonna do? You know. So next we have our next little bit of news. Fallout TV series confirmed.
Ah!
So I mean, like, here's the thing: Fallout as an idea, as an IP, yeah, you can do a TV show. But considering that Todd Howard's involved with it,
I was
which means
gonna say,
the first episode's gonna glitch out and crash before you get through the first 10 minutes of the shit.
I was gonna say, really, did they have to announce Fallout because of the fact that when you think, remember, what is the one of the first things that you think of when you think of Fallout? Bethesda.
Yeah, well, Todd Howard is an executive producer on it, so
Yeah, and that means that thing's gonna be a mess.
okay, I got something for you guys. This is an aside. For those of you who have Hulu, either premium or free, on Hulu they have one of my favorite movies of all time, directed by Steven Spielberg and executive produced by Kathleen Kennedy back in the 80s.
Uh,
85, I think. Yeah, 85. Or is it 86? I can't remember. The Color Purple, starring Whoopi Goldberg, Danny Glover, Oprah, some other people. It's basically it's based on a book about this young black woman who overcomes tremendous adversity in order to reclaim her personhood. It's a really good movie. It should have won an Oscar. It was nominated, but it didn't win. Um,
heh,
uh, it's on Hulu. There you go. Uh,
not a bad game.
yeah, it's hard for me to watch because it's got violence against women, which,
Morality will be saying nope to that show.
what?
Morality will say nope to that show.
What, violence against women?
In a sense, yeah.
Well, she overcomes the violence against women. I mean, that's part of the whole point behind it, is that she overcomes these tremendous life odds. The reason it's hard for me to watch is just because I don't like I try like I it's just, for just a life's perspective, it's hard for me to watch that type of shit. But it's such a good movie that I might have to get over it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's some shows that I don't watch out of basic principle.
Well, good for you. I'm watching it. That's one of my favorite films from when I was a kid. Um, it's really good. It's a really good film, and I
Believe it
will
or not,
watch it
that
again.
believe it or not, I might watch that. I said might because one thing I don't watch, no matter how much I get pushed to watch it,
Mm.
is those quote unquote reality TV shows. You
Oh,
know which ones I'm
you're
talking
not gonna
about.
love 1,000 Pound Sisters, or 18 Kids and Counting.
Oh God,
I'm like,
those.
man, I don't give a fuck about these people. Look, why don't we make a counter show to that called Stop Fucking? There you go. Yeah.
The only the only show that even came close to making me feel interested in it would be probably the most ironic one of all.
Jersey
Drawn
Shore.
Together.
Yeah, but that wasn't a reality show. That was a
I
cartoon with
know.
adult
That's
humor.
the thing. That's the thing. That's that felt more like a reality TV show than those other shows.
Eh, I mean, I didn't really like Drawn Together. I thought it was stupid. Um,
Ugh, trust
I
me.
mean, because basically it went for the easy jokes instead of being multi-tiered, and plus there was no character that you could really like on the TV show. And I mean, this is kind of an issue with adult animation. When I say adult animation, I don't mean like hentai or anything like that. I mean like
Animations
animated series
on
for
our side
adults.
of the ocean, right?
What?
Animation on our side of the water, right?
Well, animated series for adults, like your Futuramas, your
Ah,
Rick and Morty's, your Drawn Togethers, stuff like that. Like, why is it that everyone thinks, and even I could say The Simpsons and Family Guy and South Park and um, shit, Futurama, stuff like that. Why is it that people think you have to make every character fucking unlikable? Like, watch Drawn Together. Every character in Drawn Together is fucking unlikable. Every one of them.
that's that's one of the sadder things about animations that live here. They they mostly make you have to hate everybody.
Like
And
Family Guy. Every character in Family Guy is fucking unlikable. Brian's unlikable. Stewie's unlikable. Lois is unlikable. Um, the daughter is unlikable.
um, that's odd because compared to the ma- compared to the man of the house, they're more they're
Peter's
more
unlikable.
relatable.
No, the whole family is unlikable. There is no one in that entire
I
show.
said I said compared to Peter, the others are at least a little more bearable. But then
They're all
again,
terrible people, is what I'm saying.
yeah,
There's no clear character that you can root for in that show, except for maybe Chris, and he's just a pothead. Like he's a teenage boy. He masturbates way too much, and he's a pothead. Okay, yeah, so even then, it's kind of like, okay, what's your point? They had the Cleveland show, which I liked, and then they made Cleveland unlikable. Um,
oh god.
there's American Dad. No character is likable in that show, except for maybe the nerd kid. Forget his name. Like, it's just like all these fucking unlikable characters. Why the fuck does everyone think every fucking show for adults there has to be unlikable characters? Why? Why? Or even if you do start out with a main character who's likable, by the end of the first season they're unlikable. Why do people think in order for a show to appeal to adults that every character has to fucking be unlikable?
Because they think that we are full of hate.
I mean, say whatever you want to about The Simpsons, but they're likable characters in The Simpsons. Every character has something about them, has a duality of their natures, right? Like there's parts of Homer that actually are likable. There are parts of Marge that are actually unlikable. Hell, even Bart has parts of him that are likable. Grandpa Abe Simpson, there are parts of him that are likable. Like Lisa, there's parts of her that are likable. There's no, like, literally, you look at Seth, not Seth, I forgot his name. But you look at the shit,
McFarlane?
Seth MacFarlane's shit, and a lot of his characters are fucking totally unlikable.
Yeah, that makes me wonder who writes for this guy.
I think he does a lot of the writing himself, or he has a writer's room that he basically commandeers. But that's not cool to me. It's not cool. To me, that's not cool. That is not cool that you basically have completely unlikable characters on TV shows. It's the reason I don't like South Park, because really, there are no likable characters in South Park. Everyone is a piece of shit.
Funny enough, the only one that I can actually feel like is possibly the most likable if, of the main crew, oddly, is the one that
Kenny?
gets killed the most.
Kenny?
Yes, and
Kenny was likable until I found out he's immortal and he's the Shroud. I'm the
Wait,
Shroud.
what?
Yeah, he's the Shroud.
he's a Shroud.
Yeah, he's the Shroud. Kenny is the Shroud. Like whenever Kenny dies, he's reincarnated. He just keeps on coming back.
Okay, I think my jaw just hit the floor for a moment.
So yeah, I mean, it's just, like stop making unlikable characters. It's annoying and it's lazy. All right.
Actually, it's not lazy. It's just plain beeping annoying.
No, it is lazy. Because here's the thing: if you make a character that's likable, you actually have to add nuance to the character, whereas unlikable is really easy.
Heh.
So, but that's just me. That's the end of the podcast. Anything you want to pimp out before we wrap things up?
Heh. minus a few articles that keep that I keep on aiming at Game Freak about somewhat. I think I'll be all right.
All right. This is Mr. Red Fox, owner and proprietor of BS Busters, and
You can reach us at BS
you can reach us at BS Busters at Mr. Red Fox BSBuster at gmail.com, or at Matthew Wesley at Mr. Red Fox 91, or at Discord at Discord link is in the description under the video. Rate, comment, share, subscribe. Peace, good night, and